I wanted to bring up the next match because I want you to go first and tell me maybe what I missed. Help me out a little bit. Our boys, the team was in need for the AEW tag title, FTR versus Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Olivier. What did you see here?
At this point, it appeared the crowd was completely burned out, quite literally, from the heat. I thought the commentators did an atrocious job during this match. I thought the match went on way too long, considering the factors that we talked about earlier.
That it was rotten?
Well, but beyond that, if it was the same match and it was in front of a building filled with people who were hot for AEW, it would have been a completely different story. They were in front of a hot crowd in an open-air building. It went on way too long for that.
It would have been the same.
It didn't come together for me. And I love FTR, and I had high hopes, as I said on the show, about this match. But the match itself didn't come together for me. And I think a lot of those outside circumstances played into it. I wouldn't have done a match at this length at this point in the show with these situations.
Well, but the world's greatest living wrestling artist has to have time to fuck the whole thing up. All of his matches have to go for fucking ever. Don't you know that?
I am seeing a trend.
Adam Page has lost his smile. They even had a fucking sign. The Hangman lost his smile. But he turned his back. This is the story the announcers are telling. He turned his back on the Bucks to be friends with FTR, but they spurned him. And before the match had even started yet, I'm like, Jesus Christ, it sounds like fucking middle school. They're not adults. When they started the match, they were spending more time working the stupid issue between Page and Olivier, like anybody gives a fuck. At this point, they've milked and bungled and made this seem so fucking insignificant, and the Bucks whining about, all we wanted was a friend, and all it blah, blah, blah. These aren't grown men acting this way. So it's fucking, they spend more time on the stupid shit with Page and Olivier, who have no teamwork whatsoever. They do team moves, but they do not work as a team. There's a difference. They stopped Page with a heat spot, which started things rolling well when he missed the goddamn ring post. Did you see that? They were going to shovel him in to the post. Instead of taking it through the second and third buckle with the shoulder, he decided to slide, and he was going to do the old Kurt Hennig thing and slide sideways into it, and he fucking got hung. So they baseball slid him for the heat spot. Once FTR took over, they slowed it down to get the heat on Page, and I thought they were starting to build something, and they worked like heels. But it didn't really build. I think it just, especially with Olivier, but Page is trying to do, instead of working like he's from North Carolina or Virginia, the mid-Atlantic area, he's trying to do more of this modern horse shit that the rest of these guys do. Because I knew it would be a style clash with Olivier and the FTR, but they didn't gel. And like they got heat on Page, and then he was on the floor. Dax went to roll him in, and he just rolled right off the apron and decked fucking Dax and went right in the ring and just went over and cold tagged Olivier after the heat they got on him. So that nobody trying to stop him. Horrible fucking just. Olivier did the comeback with the jazz hands, and I've never seen jazz hands Polish hammers before. It's like he's spinning. He's spinning with these ballet florets and flourishes, and then he twinkles his hands in the air, and then he comes with the Polish hammer that looks more like a goddamn Tinkerbell hammer. And then he made some more funny faces and did a couple of flips. And then this was what I've never wanted to see, and they missed a perfect opportunity to actually do something positive here. FTR's on the floor. Olivier makes his bug eyes, his finger pointing, his gesticulating. He does the twinkle toes butt plug run to the ropes. He does a dive, and FTR stood there and caught him. So now they've officially been indoctrinated. Wouldn't that have been a perfect spot to walk off from him? I'm not saying not tell him about it. I'm saying do a spot where they walked off from him and let him crash. They do it all the time anyway, on purpose. And then, well, okay, we're not cooperating with your fucking phony wrestling, you cosplay wrestling bullshit artist. We're real. That would have said that, but they caught him. And then at one point, FTR hit a series of quick double teams and rolled Olivier up with a jackknife, and it looked like Page missed the save, tried to grab his foot and missed. Olivier had to kick out of that. Here's why you didn't like this match. Here's why it didn't come together. Because FTR were trying to do all the awkward, ridiculous video game bullshit that Kenny Olivier does. And since none of it is actually wrestling or part of wrestling, or you don't learn it in wrestling school because you learn how to wrestle in wrestling school, it looked horrible. The FTR is the most highly trained, professional, smooth workers that they've got in the company. But if you don't know what the fuck this guy's doing with this awkward, self-invented, self-trained video game bullshit, you don't know how to fucking deal with it. And it looks horrible. And to me, Kenny Olivier looks to me as a person who potentially would be in a match with him. He looks like he's hard and awkward as fuck to work with if you're a wrestler. If you're just doing the flips and the gymnastics, then it all blends together and you can't really tell when somebody's making a mistake anyway. But why do the partners keep hiding on the floor? The partner that's not illegal, there'd be two guys in the ring. You don't see the other two on the apron or on the fucking working the apron. You see them hiding, leaning on the apron, waiting for their next spot, looking. Then they tried forever to do a superplex spot, and finally they got it, superplex, boom, and a splash by Cash and a 2 count. More finger pointing and prissy prancing and gesticulating, but he did get foiled trying to do the one-winged fairy. I lost track of who was in control because it just starts going back and forth. They're trying to get heat on Olivier at this point, but he can't sell. He just lays there and makes faces. There was no urgency or jeopardy to the heat on Olivier because they'd gone too long already and they hadn't set this fucking thing up. I know FTR was trying, but they're also obviously trying to fucking cooperate with this fucking imbecile and do his Harpo Marx shit, and that just makes them look unprofessional and not as good as they are. Then Olivier made his own comeback with his little tulip suplexes or snapdragons or whatever they are, and then got thrown headfirst into Adam Page, and that looked pretty good. It looked like they bonked heads. So naturally, after he fucking gets thrown headfirst into Page, and Page flies to the floor and sells it, seconds later, Olivier is fine and makes a cold tag to Page, who's fresh as a daisy, and makes a big comeback. And then he did a dive off the top. At least FTR moved out of the way for the moonsault. They moved around the other side of the ring post, so he just cross-bodied him. And I wrote, how long is this shit? FTR hit double diving headbutts off the top, wasn't the finish. FTR did a Steiner Bulldog onto Olivier on the floor, then to Page in the ring, and it was a 2 count. And suddenly, within easily less than 30 seconds, maybe less than 15 seconds, after Olivier got a bulldog off one of FTR's shoulders by the other one onto the concrete floor, he was back into the ring, okay, interfering. But Page then gave Cash a backflip, sack of shit slam off the top rope. Did a flip with him. The follow with a sack of shit, the fall-away slam, but did a flip with him and off the top rope, landed on top of him in a cover. That's a 2 count. Then Olivier and Paige miss their finish twice. The buckshot and the little knee he does from the back. They missed that because the guy ducked it first. And then the second time, Olivier hit Paige with the knee. And FTR hit their spike piledriver on Paige for a 2 count. What the fuck? And then they hit another exact same spike piledriver on Adam Page and got the 3 count. You can't tell me FTR put that match together. They can't be that stupid. They don't think that dull-witted. That had to be the world's greatest wrestling artist fucking this whole thing up. The absolute worst FTR match that has ever been perpetrated. Because they weren't in control of it and they were being too nice, which is what I predicted that they would do. Did Tully ever interfere in that match?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then why is he standing there? If he's going to be a heel manager, interfere. He couldn't interfere. He was afraid to get too close to these baby faces. They might hurt him when they're trying to fucking kill everybody else with all the stupid shit they do. And then Olivier blew Adam Page off and walked out fine on the bad leg that they'd been working on through the whole match. Too long, too much Olivier, and this was laid out lousily. Is lousily in the American Heritage Dictionary? I won't even bother to look it up. If it's not, I just made it. And then Olivier goes out in the back with the other members of the Women Haters Club, Road Warrior and Balding, and they headed to the treehouse to discuss shit. And on the way out, Olivier laid down an ultimatum to the Bucks. Well, it's going to be him or me or whatever the fuck he laid down an ultimatum because they're all having a lover's quarrel and they just can't get along. And I know pretty soon that Alfalfa is not going to let Spanky in the fucking clubhouse anymore. Jesus Christ. I can't even enjoy Here's how I feel. I feel so bad for FTR. They are in a place where they are the best in the world at what they do, and they have a variety of well-trained opponents that they can have good matches that are totally disregarded by management, and they're treated like job guys. So they come to a place where they will be paid and treated and promoted like top guys and have absolutely nobody in the goddamn company qualified to work against them because they're so far ahead of everybody else that they end up trying to have the other guys' matches and they suck. So they can't fucking win. Do you disagree with what I just said?
I mean,
we like them.
No, I'm a big fan of theirs. This match didn't come together. I think there's lots of different reasons why. You want to blame Kenny Omega? I can go with that. You want to say the fact that the fans sounded like they weren't there? I think that's part of the problem. I think the announcers. I think the booking's part of the problem. I think the announcers did a bad job here. I think there's a lot. I think it went way too long, considering also, I think a lot of people were in the same boat as me after the Matt Hardy thing. And if you were watching on Twitter or following along on Twitter, everyone was talking about the Matt Hardy thing still. It took a lot of people out of this show. And it hurt everything on this show.
Well, I don't know.
With that said, I'm happy they're tag team champions. First guys to be NXT and AEW tag team champions, as well as Raw and SmackDown. I hope they do something good with them. I was surprised that the Bucks didn't interfere to cost Page and Omega the belts. I figured that would happen. And then setting up a rematch with Page and Omega versus the Bucks. Now we'll see what happens. I'm happy. The right guys are the tag team champions right now.
Yes.
And I got faith in them having good matches with other people. And we'll see what Adam Page versus Omega will be.
Oh, God. I forgot. We're going to have to look at that. I don't know why everybody was so upset about Matt. Why the AEW fans were so upset about Matt. This is what they want. They want people falling off high things into... I'm surprised they don't have the diving horse. Remember the diving horse at the old carnivals and fairs that used to jump off a goddamn 30-foot high tower into a teacup full of water? Because you know they ought to do that next.
But they don't want to think anyone could ever get hurt for this.
But no, they don't have to think that anyone, because they already have. Why do you think Britt Baker's been in a fucking wheelchair for the last, 3 months? because one of their untrained fucking outlaw girl wrestlers picked another one up and threw her on top of her fucking leg. Think of how many. Matt Hardy's goddamn, it looked like he got hit in the head with an axe because Sammy Guevara went into a fucking homicidal rage and forgot everything he knew about working when he pegged that chair at him. Off the top, everybody.
Marco Stunt, they put him in there with Jake Hager.
Marco Stunt, he's walking around in a walking boot. The boot's as big as he is. Everybody gets busted open, hard way blood. They're doing all this shit that is not only not wrestling, so therefore you don't learn it in wrestling school. You just kind of figure it out in the backyard like a lot of these guys did. But they're trying to do more of it. So, of course, the injuries are going to get worse. So welcome to the fucking club. Somebody's going to really get hurt bad. If they haven't already. We'll see how Matt is. But what do you expect? When literally the only fucking bump that they bother to gimmick is the finish bump on these crash pads or through these phony stages that they do, and then you can tell it's as phony as a football bat. But the rest of the shit, they're just telling, I'll figure it out as you go. It's stupid. This shit, this furniture and all these blunt instruments won't work with you. Anyway,